Hello and welcome to Bent TV. My name is Erin Kyan. My pronouns are he, him. We are broadcasting from the Kulin Nation. And today I am joined by the wonderful burlesque performer Ella Bells, pronouns she, her. Hi.
Hi, how you going?
Good, thank you. I would love to hear some about your work in burlesque and how you explore your queerness and identity through it.
When I started burlesque and cabaret and performance, what I really wanted to do was kind of explore the idea of being feminine and queer. So basically explore the concept of feminine queerness on stage as a solo female performer as well. Because I found that, especially as a femme queer woman, as a bisexual queer woman, something that I do a lot of my life is try and assert my queerness, and I'm sure that's something that so many people can relate to.
Because there's the kind of that assumption that if you're like a feminine queer woman, or if you're a feminine woman, you can't be queer. There's that kind of idea.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this kind of constant process of coming out again and again and again on everything. So I kind of want to take that to take the stage and look into it and explore it in a way that was also sort of really fun and positive and energetic. And that's kind of where I found to burlesque, especially because burlesque is something that I think is an art form with a tremendous amount of potential to really exciting and fun and energizing and incredibly diverse in what it can do and what it can be. And especially the way that it sort of intersects with sexuality as well, which is something I'm incredibly passionate about. So I want to kind of put all those things together into kind of fun, bubbly, big, feminine numbers that are the kind of things that I would have really liked to see. Yeah,
and that's like really good as well, because I think a lot of the time when we're trying to make space for queerness in performance, I know I do it, I lean on like the tragedies in my life and the really dark stuff. So like coming at it from this no, we're gonna make it beautiful and playful, that just sounds really good to me, making it a really positive space.
And that's really such a large part of what I want to do, because I think there is so much importance and value in sharing queer struggles and being able to go through that empathy and that experience and be able to connect those experiences as a community. But I think there's also tremendous value in finding the pleasure and the joy in queerness.
Yeah, we have to acknowledge that we can be happy.
Yeah.
It's not all bad. Actually, because I don't know many queer people who don't want to be queer. Yeah. Once you've come out and you've embraced that as a part of yourself, you wouldn't not be that anymore.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? It's now July, as we're recording this. We've just come after Pride Month globally, and so I think there is kind of stronger acknowledgement these days of that we need that joy as much as we need the solidarity around the struggle.
I think it can be really healing and kind of really empowering itself as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I found when I was kind of this young kind of baby queer or working out that I was even going into that stage of my life. One thing that I found that I found it difficult to relate to a lot of the queer media I was seeing, to the very small amount of queer media that I was seeing.
Yeah, find.
little bits. One of the most important experiences and kind of work at my queerness was seeing the new run of Harley Quinn in the New 52. Because her and Poison Ivy are just kind of happy and having a nice time, and that's not really much that I'd kind of seen before. Yeah. I'd seen this really wonderful legacy of queer elders fighting for our rights, and I'm so grateful that I was able to see that and so grateful that they paved that way. But when I kind of went into performance, I wanted to add more of this kind of buoyancy and light of what that can look like, and especially what that can look like for femme queer women.
And especially I would imagine, because femme women are so expected to perform their femininity not for themselves.
Yeah.
You have to perform that for the straight gaze and the male gaze. Being able to reclaim that, I imagine, would be really powerful.
Yeah, and that's where it becomes a really kind of complex and interesting thing of how do you have a very kind of feminine sexuality that isn't coded as being for straight men, right? If I can come up with an answer to that, I'll write a thesis and retire or whatever.
I was going to say, that must be a very hard line to walk.
Yeah, I've got 4 minutes to work out and solve that problem that I spent my undergrad looking at. But it is kind of something that I wanted to bring to light, because there really aren't many kind of signifiers or symbols or aesthetics that are specifically for very femme queer women that indicate that queerness. It's something I've kind of struggled to find and struggled to define. And so it's just what I kind of try and look into in lots of different ways, and try to see how I can bring kind of queer elements, I guess, into the different things that I do.
Yeah, and sort of figuring out what context makes something queer and what context makes it seem more like for straight people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like context is a huge part of it. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because, there's like performing for a mixed crowd, I imagine, would be really different from performing to a crowd of women.
You can see so many diverse audiences in things like burlesque versus boylesque, and people's understanding of those art forms and what they look like, and whether it's like Dita Von Teese's show or whether it's at the 86 or whatever. Like, you're gonna have really kind of different feels and different venues. But like, one thing that I kind of try to do in like any context, even all of the time in like my day-to-day life, is kind of like take like femininity and see if I can just like push it further than like the straight idea of what is meant to be like the ideal. Because,
that's really interesting, because I think that the mainstream world, not even just the straight world, but I think there's this very narrow idea of what acceptable femininity is. And once you go past that, you go too feminine.
Yeah.
Like, and why is that bad? You know, like, we have this assumption socially that too much femininity is bad, but that's kind of ridiculous when you phrase it like that.
And it's such a struggle, because like so many people are held up to this standard of like having to like be feminine in any way when it doesn't resonate with them at all. And some people kind of really resonates it, but then they're told that their makeup is too campy or too much or too glittery or too big. And they kind of hit a point where for whatever reason, femininity just really resonated with me. But I really enjoyed pushing that past the point of like what was kind of like the right amount, as dubbed by like the heteropatriarchy, whatever. Just like pour more glitter on everything and kind of see how it falls.
Yeah, that is the best way to approach anything. I feel like you just put glitter on it, it's fine. What's like next for you? Where do you see this path like leading for you?
Oh, that is a really fascinating question. I'm going through a very sort of classic mid-20s crisis right now of like working out all these little things. So I'm studying this career in burlesque and performance. I'm also trying to start and establish a career as a sexuality educator, and integrating those two things together, because for me they're often really linked as well. Yeah,
like I feel like there would be a lot of connection between those in terms of your own sort of expressions and experience.
Especially when it comes to kind of how sexuality can intersect with burlesque. There is such, as complex as that interaction can be, I think there is something very valuable about having a space for really diverse people to explore sexuality in a way that's positive and celebrated. Like, it's so easy to forget that even the idea of sexuality and sex for pleasure, especially for like women or femme or non-binary folk, is still a fight that we have to make.
Yeah,
like,
unfortunately.
That's still a link that we get to,
Yeah, because there is such a like hard idea against that, like, and that if you do find pleasure in your sexuality, it has to be for other people instead of for yourselves.
Yeah. And that's where I think especially burlesque has a lot of potential, because especially like for myself as a woman on stage, it's you're just one person on stage and you choose what your costume looks like and when it comes off and how you dance and all that kind of stuff. And especially when you're doing that as a queer woman, saying, no, I'm going to do something sexual and make myself a sexual person and be positive about that and enjoy it and think it's something that's worth celebrating, and do something where often the audience is required to celebrate it and the fact that it exists. I think for a lot of people that can be really valuable and a really new experience to just see their own sexuality in a positive light, or see other people that they might relate to in one way or another, seeing their own sexuality as a positive, fun thing.
I think that's such a beautiful like way to move something forward as well, to celebrate that like that pleasure and that self, like, I guess, autonomy. Hopefully everyone's very excited about burlesque. Go support your local troops.
Always.
Is there somewhere people can find your work?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, both at Look It's Ella Bells.
Thank you so much, Ella Bells, for coming to talk to us. Thank you to you for watching. This has been Bent TV.